If you were looking for an illustration of how fast and how furious Atlanta has changed over the last 20 years or so, look no further than R.E. Ted Turner, the swashbuckling Atlanta strongman, has now become an asterisk almost to our history. And with AT&T's purchase of Turner Broadcasting, though they are denying it now, his name could be further marginalized. We will see. When I arrived on the media scene here 35 years ago, Ted was larger than life. He was the uber ruler of commerce and pop culture here. CNN, the Braves, Hawks, Superstation, politics, the captain of the America's Cup, environmental concerns before it was cool, the Goodwill games, Jane Fonda, shall I go on? He was more of our identity than any other living Atlantan. Oh, and he also drove a thrifty little Toyota and threatened with a smile and a laugh to run over sports reporters in the bowels in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Speaking of, when the stadium caught fire in 1993 with fire trucks, he laughed and told me, "Let's play tonight. It'll be a hot game for everybody." And they did. When I filled in on the CNN afternoon talk show, Talkback Live, with a full audience in the atrium, Ted, ascending on the giant escalator, shouted, "Don't screw this up, Pulitzer. We miss you, Ted. We hope you enjoy better health in the years ahead. Atlanta without you is like Atlanta without Coca-Cola or kudzu or humidity. It is not the same."